Sweet. What's up, guys? We're going to continue chapter one of the Sam Harris book, Waking Up. I'm here with my bro Grant again. What's up, man?
Hey, hey, how's it going?
Good, yeah. I got the Peru shirt on because tomorrow Peru's playing Brazil.
Oh, shit. Are Peru gonna get destroyed?
Honestly, most likely.
Yeah,
But I'm still cheering for them.
yeah. You got to cheer for the home for your home country.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So we were just getting to this part in the book in chapter one where he mentions two mystics. And I guess just to refresh, mystic, how did we define mystics? Like someone who had a really deep spiritual insights, and they could belong to any religion, but for some reason these mystics from different religions have really similar insights, right? Is it something like that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And then typically it's these mystics have had what they think is some kind of vision that doesn't always align with what the religion they practice preaches. So there's a bit of conflict there.
It usually transcends their religion, and that pisses some people off, right?
Yep, exactly. It's outside of what the Bible or the Quran says um, is true, I guess.
It's like the first example he gives is a Christian mystic called Meister Eckhart, and I believe he's German, and I also believe that the guy Eckhart Tolle, he chose his name after this mystic, actually.
Okay, interesting.
And Sam Harris says he quotes something that, according to him, sounds very Buddhist. Like Sam Harris says that a lot in chapter one. He says like, "Oh, this sounds pretty Buddhist," as if Buddhism was some kind of pattern or something. But anyways,
Hmm.
the quote is, "The knower and the known are one." What do you think about that?
The knower and the known are one.
Mm.
Oh yes, we said that in 12, somewhere between 1260 and 1300.
Dude, the hell, 1300s, and the same thing was said by Krishnamurti in the 1900s. Like this is what trips me out. Like how are people saying the same things in different years and different places?
Yeah, right. I think it's because everyone's seeking the same answers. I wouldn't really know how to interpret that. Have you got any more thoughts?
Like to get into the topic of this statement, you have to get into the topic of like, who am I?
Mm,
Yeah, but I think we're still on the way there. So I think for now we can just leave it. We can just leave it like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Because he also says some things like, God and I, we are one in knowledge.
Hmm. I think a lot of mystics tend to believe that God is communicating through them as well. Um, and that is why sometimes they get persecuted because
Mm,
traditional religions are like, who are you to say that we're doing things wrong and that we should change?
right. This was like in the 1300s, right? So now the next mystic is Muslim mystic, specifically Sufi. I think people like to highlight that. Like Sufi is like, how to explain like
You
the
have, I think, is that the difference between Sunni and Sufi Muslims, is it?
but the thing is like, okay, so like the ones that are mainstream right now is Sunni and Shia, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah, sorry, that's correct, yeah.
But Sufi is like another one that they're usually like not taken seriously.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, because like they're the ones that they like to like spin around and get dizzy as like a form of meditation, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I always just put meditation with being quite peaceful.
Right.
That sounds like the opposite to me.
Right.
I give myself a headache is meditation.
So this guy was born in or he was alive in the 900s.
Hmm.
And he's also saying like something similar, like being one with God.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so he was killed by the leaders of his society because of
Like,
sharing certain insights. I think that also links into, especially over 1,000 years ago, um, religion was used as a way to by the higher class to control society.
Mm,
So then if somebody who is a nobody starts speaking up and saying, "Oh, I've had a message through God, he's communicating through me," and if that message challenges the traditional religious message, which is upheld by those in power, um, I think they're going to persecute him. Maybe not so much on the fact they might say it's because he's going against the word of God, but it's also
mm.
because he's challenging their authority. Like, shut up, stop talking out of turn. We don't want this disrupted. We've got a good thing going on here.
Exactly. It's like if somebody went to China and started protesting or something, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So this guy, Mansour al-Hallaj, he got executed pretty brutally, like chopped up like piece by piece. And when they chopped off his hands, he said this quote. So he rubbed the bloody stumps of his wrists over his arms, shoulders, and face, and then he says, "This I do because much blood has already flowed from my body, and
Mm,
I don't want you to think that I have grown pale from fear."
wow. I wonder if he was executed in such a brutal manner to make an example out of him as well. Don't question religion, don't question the authority that the priests and the controlling class
Right.
put upon you. And then maybe well, I guess it did backfire because probably if they just took him off quietly and executed him and not made a big show out of it, he wouldn't be that known. But a dude who gets his hands chopped off and then does that as um like the last thing he does, he's gone down in history now.
Right. If they would have gone like CIA style, like, oh, he fell down, like his ship sunk during a voyage or something, like
Yeah,
that would have been more
exactly.
low key.
Yeah, for sure.
Fake gurus. It's almost like cult leaders, right? It's like, how do you know which ones are like the real mystics and which ones are just playing us?
Mm. And I think that puts a lot of people off spirituality. Um, if I think back, it put me off a bit, because I always just linked like spirituality with that preachy woo-woo bullshit. Oh, I'm
Mm.
so enlightened, like buy into what I'm selling. Um, so that definitely kind of puts people off. And I think it happens a lot too, because quite often a lot of people are seeking answers
Yeah.
and coming to people with knowledge. So it's quite an attractive thing to put yourself in that position. Oh, I'm the one with knowledge. You're seeking my help. And then if you're not a good person, it's easy to exploit people like that.
Yeah, like I think I mentioned to you that during my trip to India, we heard about there was some lady who had, I don't know, like some kind of brain damage and she would walk around drooling all over herself. And in this spiritual town, people would just assume she was enlightened. So like
Hmm.
some people would just follow her around and like, I don't know, like pray to her and stuff, but she's just like she's just mentally out of her mind.
Yeah. 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 It's it's funny, isn't it?
I think like also one of the like people who I guess like are really dedicated to let's just say like the truth that these mystics are that the real mystics talk about, they'll usually say if somebody says I am enlightened, that's the fake guru.
Yeah, because I think that's ego, isn't it? To be saying
Exactly.
I I am this, and if that's something is hard to accomplish too, it's like, oh, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at that. Somebody who is actually enlightened wouldn't have that ego, and it's more likely that other people would look at them and say, they're quite enlightened. Like there's someone who walks around telling everyone they're enlightened. That's the ego talking, and they're definitely not.
Exactly. Like if somebody's saying like I'm enlightened, and if you hang out with me, then maybe one day in the future you will be enlightened too. Then you know like
Yeah,
this is the fake one, dude.
for sure, for sure. Yeah,
So then
it's
that makes me
it's
wonder
sorry.
what does the real guru say then?
He wouldn't say anything.
That's
If you're
also
truly
possible. Yeah.
enlightened and you have no ego, like what the only thing you're gonna gain from going around telling everyone you're enlightened is to dupe people into following you because you've got like it's a bit nefarious,
Mm,
or you just like having your ego stroked and you like people looking at you in that manner. If you were actually enlightened, you'd probably just be off living your life, being a good person. And that's probably why it's so hard to find those genuine enlightened gurus as well, because people who are actually enlightened are probably just enjoying life, being good to people. And the people who are going around telling everyone, I'm enlightened, look at me, come to my retreat, pay me money,
mm,
they're the ones who are going to be known by people because they're putting their name out there. People who are actually enlightened are probably just off doing their thing.
mm. We went to this countryside town in India where like the enlightened master of that town, who he's passed away now, but his name was Ramana Maharshi. Like apparently he wanted to just be alone, but when he made eye contact with people, they would kind of like start tripping because like something about his gaze or whatever, and then they would seek him, and he would just try to be alone, and he eventually moved to the caves and stuff like just to have his space, but people would just seek him out. Like he wasn't even trying to gain followers or anything.
What a crazy experience for that guy. He's like, please just leave me alone. And then he makes eye contact with people. People follow him. They make eye contact with him. Then they're like, oh, he's like, Jesus Christ, get away from me.
I just imagine like what if like if you meet him and you make eye contact with him and it just feels like a shroom, like a mushroom trip.
Yeah, I mean, I highly doubt that's true. It's probably because people, it's almost like hypnosis. People who really want to be influenced will
Mm,
accept, also those Christian churches where people will pretend they actually think that they have a devil inside them. They think the pastor frees them of the devil.
mm.
Um, so it's these people that are really susceptible if they really want to believe, they kind of trick themselves.
That's true. That's true. What's weird about this particular guy is that like a bunch of random people decided to stay and live with him, and one of them was like a British military officer because like this is during the time where England occupied India, I believe.
Mm.
So he had like just like random people decide to just chill with him for years.
Yeah, I mean, especially as a British military officer, I imagine that was a trip. Like you've came to India as a conqueror and you've seen and committed terrible things, and then you befriend this enlightened Indian guy who shows you how fucked up you've been living.
Yeah, and like just right now, like when you mentioned like that an enlightened person might just say nothing, I think for a long time this guy just said nothing.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, almost like a long term like silent silence vow or something like that.
Mm, mhm. And it's funny because people will also look for certain things in that. People are probably thinking when he's ready, he'll it's just a test. Like if I can remain silent in his company, like maybe he's trying to test me. Um,
Hmm.
who knows?
It's like apparently like later on he did start to talk, but he said that like he would try to like awaken someone just by looking at them, and if they didn't get it, then he would like maybe like say something, like give some breadcrumbs for them to explore, and then see if maybe that could help them later on. But he didn't really care though. He just wanted to chill.
Even this kind of stuff I'm skeptical about
Mm,
because if he's truly enlightened, is that not ego thinking that he can just look at someone and impart enlightenment on them? I'm kind of skeptical whether people truly do achieve enlightenment,
mm.
really.
So then we have to then define enlightenment then.
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing process. I don't think you just all of a sudden, boom, you're enlightened. I think you can become, I guess, enlightened by trying keep going on that journey rather than just one day, oh, I'm enlightened, now I'm the master, and people follow me around and I
Mhm.
can look at them and make them enlightened.
Hmm. Right. So like how can we define enlightenment?
It's hard. Like Google might be our friend there.
That's tough. But like people who supposedly have insights about this topic, they'll say like it can't happen in the future. That's why you can't. That's why if you seek it, you'll never find it.
Interesting. Hmm. It's ne I know you've been trying to chase enlightenment a little bit or looking into it.
Mm,
Um, for me, it's not really something I'm that aware of or that I'm trying to pursue. I'm more just thinking, as long as I'm a good person, I treat myself and others well, that's good enough for me.
mm,
Um, because I think, yeah, just the idea of enlightenment to me always has that connotation of culty, people following you around. Oh my God, he's the master, he's achieved enlightenment. How can I do that?
mm. Yeah, like I definitely was seeking it out for a good year, like just reading as much content as I could possibly consume for like for a year straight, uh, until I gave up because it's like never
Because you're
ending.
bored or enlightened.
No, because there's just no ending. Like it
Yeah.
never like I can dig deeper and deeper and deeper and just never ends. So
Mm,
like what I'm doing now is just like I'm just continuing my life, like whatever, like go to work, do my hobbies, do the things that feel right for me to do. And then
yeah.
I just feel that along the way, just like more insights just keep coming up
Yeah.
without me even having to like try to.
Because I feel like it's ego to say to yourself, I'm enlightened now. I figured all this shit
Mm-mm.
out. I think
Right.
it's impossible to, I think it might even be impossible to be enlightened and claim you are yourself and it be true. I think it's mostly other people looking at someone saying, that dude's figured it out, he's enlightened, show me. And quite often, if that person has kind of figured it out, they're like, just leave me alone. I'm just living my life, it's good.
Hmm. And they're not, and like they wouldn't be interested in any praise or yeah,
No,
yeah, right.
no, definitely not. Like, because say if you were just you didn't think you were enlightened, you were just trying to be a good person, and all of a sudden all these people were following you saying, oh, teach me and help me become enlightened, you'd be like, what? No, like get out of here. It'd only be
Hmm.
someone with an ego that would say, yes, correct, I am enlightened, let me show you the way, come and join me.
Yeah, now that sounds like Osho.
Mm. Yeah, well, we all know what happened to him.
Yeah. And I feel like he honestly thought that he was enlightened.
Yeah, that's when your ego gets out of control. Like when people tell a lot of lies and believe their own shit, um, it's just because their ego's way out of control.
Mm. And I could be wrong, but like I did consume his content before watching Wild Wild Country. And
Mm.
I was kind of putting off watching Wild Wild Country for a long time because but then I
Don't
finally
ruin
watched
it
it.
for me.
Yeah. Then I finally watched it on and then like I realized, okay, so on YouTube, the content they post of Osho is like only the moments when he's like actually in zone with I don't know, let's say mindfulness, like he's totally present in those moments. But then you see the other footage on Wild Wild Country that he wasn't like that 24/7.
No, no.
He definitely had moments where he was like
I've not read any of Osho. Are they books that he's written on how to become enlightened then?
there's books on like awareness, like stuff like mindfulness.
Okay.
Uh and it does match the stuff that you read in other like let's say awareness or awakening books, but I think his actions didn't match that 24/7.
No, no.
It's so trippy. Like, yeah, that case study is pretty trippy. Well, it seems like kind of like we're getting to a part where like we're finding some patterns on like what is let's say like a fake guru and then
Mm,
a more legit guru. And let's say like the legit gurus will tell you like you don't even have to look for a guru because there's already like a guru within you if you just like if you're open
yeah.
to receive or how do you this is really abstract right now like it's related to intuition right stuff like that
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
that
Yeah.
your like your intuition itself is is the guru and everyone has access to it. So there's actually no need to even seek out like a specific guru or whatever. Like it's already within you.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and I think that is just the pattern of spirituality, enlightenment, living ethically, being a virtuous person. Um,
Mm.
that can lead to enlightenment, I guess, or like not even enlightenment, but on that path. And then the moment you start saying, "Oh, I've figured all that shit out," you almost need to go back to the start because then you're letting your ego take control of you again.
Yeah.
Because it should always be a journey. And sometimes you might fuck up, but then you have to kind of get on that path. And I think it's always going to be a journey. And I think the destination of enlightenment's a myth.
Right. It feels like the destination is the present moment itself. Like it's just to be here.
Exactly. Exactly.
But there's still millions of people seeking it. Like, I also did that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause it almost feels good to hope that, oh yeah, one day I'll reach enlightenment. Like it
Because it
feels.
sounds like the cure. Like if you are struggling and then
Mm,
you hear about these people who are enlightened and it seems like they've got everything figured out, and I think we're kind of used to in our society of, oh, this is the cure for that. We don't really want to be told, actually, there is no one cure that fixes it forever. It's going to be a journey for the rest of your life. Like that's not attractive, and people don't want to hear that.
yeah.
They don't want to hear, "Oh, I'm fucked up. I need help." Okay, but this is going to be a journey for the rest of your life. They want to just have enlightenment now. They want it to be fixed now, and that's not the way it works.
Right. They're saying like I want to be fixed now, and then the guru says, "Who's I?"
And then they're just like, "Fuck, I'm going home."
Yeah, because it seems like part of this enlightenment journey is seriously asking, okay, who is I? And like dissolving your current I, like unsubscribing from your current I, and then see what happens.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like most of what I have for chapter one. Like, what are your thoughts so far, like on this topic in general?
For me, it's new. Um, I haven't really looked into spirituality, enlightenment that much. Um, I told you I've been looking into Stoicism more,
Mm.
um, and applying Stoic philosophy into my life. It has not mentioned enlightenment once, but I've taken the concept of you need to be a good person. You need to do the things that Stoicism applies to you. Like don't let anger consume you. Don't let these negative emotions consume you.
Mm.
Be good to people. Um, don't be consumed by materialism. Always seek knowledge. And I've been trying to apply that, and the way it's described in Stoicism is that it's a continuous journey. So that's what was
Mm.
making me think when we were talking about enlightenment, the idea of just achieving this one thing, especially with what I've been reading, it has not been described as enlightenment in Stoicism, but I kind of was trying to piece that together, and that's where I was thinking, yeah, I think it's more of a continuous journey.
Mm. Like there's definitely like an overlapping between stoicism and let's call it spirituality. Do we want to call it spirituality or can we call it zen? Actually, it doesn't really matter, but
It doesn't matter.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just sometimes even the word spirituality can have negative connotations, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things Sam Harris talks about too, is because it is kind of tied in with kind of woo-woo, not realistic bullshit. I can just look you in the eyes and then all of a sudden you're enlightened. Whereas I like Stoicism because it's very practical and you
Mhm.
can read accounts from Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca who applied it in their life, and it's just very practical advice on how to deal with life's trials and tribulations. And it
Mhm.
doesn't have anything to do with, to me, which I just think is quite frankly bullshit. Like someone could just look at you or touch your head and you spasm, and then all of a sudden the demons are released or you've reached enlightenment. That kind of stuff just completely puts me off. And I kind of like that Sam Harris is cutting through the bullshit
Mm,
of the religious kind of woo-woo shit. And he's just saying, get rid of that, but take the good things like meditation and
mm.
apply it to your life.
True, true. Yeah, there's no need to get into like astrology or numerology if you don't want to. Like, there's no need at all.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think about psychedelics?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried psychedelics a few times when I was younger. I haven't done them in a long time. I think I've taken mushrooms like 5 or 6 times. Um, and I took them more as just, even back then I was listening to Joe Rogan. I knew he was into psychedelics, and I took them with friends. And it was fun. And I felt like a bit of an afterglow for a few days after. Um, it's hard to say whether it had any. I certainly didn't experience. I didn't take a high enough dose to experience ego death or anything like that. Um, but I haven't taken them in more of a, I guess, therapy environment. I know some people are microdosing now for anxiety and depression, and it's great for
Mm,
PTSD. I haven't. I've just taken shrooms with friends, and it felt good. But yeah, I know that. Yeah, I mean, even ayahuasca, people who've been addicted to smoking, to heroin, had depression, they've took ayahuasca, and it seems to have cured them.
mm.
Um, yeah, so I think psychedelics pretty amazing. But they also, it's a shame that they're illegal in a lot of places, so they can't be fully studied or applied to people who need them.
Yeah, it feels like the people who are making them illegal are they're benefiting from having that be illegal because then people can't question.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
Right?
during the Vietnam War that most psychedelics were made illegal because then that was a way to shut the hippies that were protesting. It was a way to shut them down and lock them up. Same
Mm,
as I think the early 1900s when they made marijuana illegal in the States. It was just a way that they could shut down protesting blacks and get them to shut up essentially.
mm.
Um, but there's a bit of a pattern there, isn't there?
Yeah, someone doesn't want us to, I think, just to awaken in general.
I don't even know whether it's that sinister, whether they don't want us to awaken. Maybe it is. I think it's just a way that they can control a group.
Mm,
Oh, the hippies are acting up. Let's start chucking them in prison for drug offenses. Oh, black people are acting up. All right, let's start chucking them in prison for. Oh, they take crack cocaine more likely. Okay, we'll make the prison sentences harsher for that than normal cocaine, which is predominantly taken by white people, even though they're the same thing.
mm. It's making me think a lot about like, yeah, just like people in authority. Like, I feel like the people in authority, they know a lot of psychology and like marketing
100%.
skills.
100%. Especially like during the Cold War, they did loads of experiments on it's like psychological torture and how they can use that to interrogate people and get the answers they want. So yeah, for sure.
I think, I mean, now after I had the experience with my coworker where like he was telling
Let's just hope
me
he's not watching this before you start.
I'm gonna see him this Friday too. Yeah. He was telling me this terrible details about his health condition that I didn't like. I should have told him to just stop talking, but I just thought I can take it. I can take it. And we had been smoking, and like I think that was like a form of like mental torture. Yeah, I totally believe that now.
Just being forced to visualize some
Oh, dude.
gross thing he has wrong with him.
It's like you don't want to visualize it, but you can't help it in that moment.
Yeah.
Jesus, dude. Okay, wait. Uh, one time during my very first shroom trip, during my trip, I just asked myself, like, how can this grow out of poop?
Right,
It's
right.
like it's like why the
Yeah,
hell? How could this grow out of poop? And then I I don't know. I just kind of got this thought like, oh, because no one would expect that.
yeah, yeah.
So does the universe have like a sense of humor or something? Putting
Seems
trivia
that
things
way.
in poop.
Yeah, the last thing you'd want to eat, if you were out foraging and you saw some mushrooms in a pile of cow shit, you'd think they'd be the last things that you'd want to eat. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm like I always wondered like I wonder who was the first guy to ever try shrooms. As someone who was
But
hungry as
this could
hell.
also link back to, people who were mystics hundreds or thousands of years ago. Um, you're especially a long time ago, you're foraging for some food,
Mm,
you eat some mushrooms, you don't necessarily know that they're psychoactive, you have some crazy experience. How the hell do you explain that other than God spoke to me?
right. What do you think about the stoned ape theory?
So I think, no, I don't know. I don't know, but I don't like psychedelics are pretty incredible and what they can do to our brain. They can help with depression, like I said, but I don't think there's any evidence that they can help your brain grow that much to go from an ape to a human brain.
Mm,
In a short, I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting, fun theory, but
yeah.
who knows?
I think someone on Joe Rogan was saying there's like a theory that Jesus might have been just a mushroom.
Well, is I think I heard on I think it might have even been on Rogan's podcast where I think in the Bible there was some bush that was set on fire, and then that bush could apparently contain I think DMT, and then could have given everyone a crazy trip.
Dude, that's totally possible.
Yeah, for sure.
You're just tripping, like, wait, who are you? Like talking to something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when people take ayahuasca, they always talk about seeing Mother Ayahuasca, this like female figure that comes to them in a dream.
Mm,
Um, so imagine seeing some entity like that 3,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago or
mm,
whenever, you would think you'd spoke to God
mm.
for sure.
I was listening to an interesting conversation between Ricky Gervais and Colbert. I forget his first name, but Colbert. I guess
Yeah.
Colbert is Christian or Catholic. I think Catholic. And Ricky Gervais is atheist.
Hmm.
And Ricky Gervais said something like, if if every religious book in the world was like burned right now, and then people wrote them again, they would be totally different, right? Like a new story, new characters and stuff, like a new myth. But if everyone burned down all the science books in the world right now and then started to learn science again from scratch, they would
Mm,
find it. They would find the same scientific
yeah,
findings.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I do like Ricky, and he's very atheist. Another thing I heard him say to someone was, "You're Christian. Do you believe in the Hindu gods? Do you believe in the Sikh gods? Do you believe in Buddha?" And they said no. And then he said, "Well, there are thousands of gods out there. Let's say there are, just to make it easy, 1,000 gods." He said, "You don't believe in 999 gods. I don't believe in 1,000. How does that make us any different?"
Right.
And
I mean, I would say I also don't believe in any gods. Like, like if anyone tells me a story about some kind of god, like I can't believe in that.
no, me neither.
But then I have to ask, like, what exactly is an atheist? Because I don't know if I would call myself atheist either, because I'm not sure what atheist means
I
actually
guess
now.
so. Atheist just, I think, means that you do not believe in any kind of God or spirituality whatsoever. I think agnostic is more that you're not entirely sure and you're kind of open to believing in something. Because I definitely don't believe in any of the gods that we know of.
Hmm.
Um, but the fact that we're on this planet and that we're having this conversation right now,
Hmm.
and that the solar system is billions of years old, um, like that's even crazier to me than some of the religious stories about creating the world in 7 days.
For sure.
So, so even that makes me just say I can't 100% be, I can't say with 100% certainty that like I'm definitely atheist because like, man, we'll just never know really how we got here or why we're here. But the fact that Jesus came back from the dead and he turned water into wine, I'm not buying that.
Mm. I'm just thinking like, okay, so we're on planet Earth. There was a time when there was no life on Earth. And then at some point, things started to grow that were alive. Like, wait,
Yeah,
that's confusing
yeah,
to me.
yeah, it's insane. And then also that the universe is infinite. It's
Mm.
infinite. So there are so many planets out there. And then on Earth, they've proved like wherever there is water, there is life. And they know there are other planets out there with water on it. So in an infinite universe, there's definitely other intelligent life out there. Um, which is just so crazy to think about. And then we're all, when you think about that, and then we're all like wrapped up with like, oh, my boss is such a dick. Like, I'm gonna send him a strongly worded email, shit like
Mm.
that.
I always wondered, like, is the universe infinite or just too big for us to be able to calculate?
Well, that's the thing, it's hard to wrap your head around because then if it's not infinite, it would have to stop somewhere. But then what's on the other side of that wall? There
Uh,
has to, it's like, it has to be, I don't, it's so hard to wrap your head around.
like in spirituality, they'll say like if there's emptiness, that then there must be some form to contain that emptiness.
And then what's outside of that? And then what's
Exactly.
outside
Yeah, it's just like mind fart.
that? Yeah.
So like yeah, I'm just enjoying getting little random insights into I guess stuff like that. And then also I have to accept that I'll never get to the end because there's probably no end. Kind of the
No.
same way that like in science, like they keep creating new microscopes or new telescopes to look further and further and further into things. But every time they go a little further, they see there's more things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they don't have the instrument yet to go look at that new thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Any final words?
Now this was fun. Um, yeah. Always a pleasure. Good talking.
I'm ready for chapter two now. I guess now it's gonna step out of spirituality and go into mindfulness. I think, right?
The next chapter concentrates a lot on science and the two different sides of the brain and how you comprehend stuff in both hemispheres of the brain. It's very interesting. It's a complete shift away from the first chapter.